We got one from I was like, Stefan or Steven? Stephen from Stephen Parsons, who said, finally joined the Patreon. Thanks for the show. Do you feel like the expansion to the cosmos and huge picture instead of small scale story has hurt the story? So first, thank you for joining the Patreon, and certainly first 2 episodes of the Lore Walking podcast you will definitely like. Because I think what we really try to do, especially in episode 2 when we were talking about expansion stuff, is how we can take the cosmic stuff but really make it smaller scale and characters and rooted in the worlds and stuff that we actually know. Hey, podcast, they're on the Patreon. Woo. Having so much fun with those. But okay, yeah. I think the Cosmic Drive has humongously hurt the World of Warcraft story in multiple different ways, even though it is interesting for the lore. And that's basically the thing. There are things that are interesting to me. So I watch explainer videos on them. I look them up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That's quite different from a story that I want to experience in return for money. It's like a film, game, TV show, whatever. And my worry right now is that the Cosmos chart, it's all very logical and it's all very much in Blizzard's head. So they're just choosing, how are we going to drip this out to people? But they have this really big problem. Our character is not a protagonist. Our character is it's this weird thing. They want us to feel like a protagonist, but we don't have dialogue with characters the way that you do in Final Fantasy XIV, which means that we're kind of like the executive helper of less powerful but more important people.
Yeah.
And what that has then meant is we're talked at a lot. It doesn't feel like we're actually engaging with the characters. So the character level stuff isn't really great these days. It's far more about, watching, and we'll get this when we get into the news, like what happens to Anduin in the new, it's more like watching a soap opera or something, right? You're like, what happens to, Anduin in the new episode? That's actually how we engage with that lore.
Yeah.
But for a whole bunch of, other ways of playing a game, like the actual storytelling, well, bringing the player and the player's character along in that ride is the most important thing. And I think this entire big focus on cosmic stuff, most people are just not that interested in it because it is, it's cosmic shit. What is Warcraft? The soil.
Yeah.
Warcraft happens in the soil. I'm sure it can be the soil of Draenor, it can be the soil of Azeroth, but, you think about the opening shot of the Warcraft movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's, it's in the desert, there's a dude, there's an orc, they're going to have a scrap.
Yeah.
That's Warcraft.
The fundamental difference between these two peoples fighting for survival against each other.
That those orcs came through a science fiction portal is like a part of the story, but it's just like, it's a science fiction portal. Whatever. It's just here to make the story happen. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like it's...
Instead of us being like, well, let's explain the Dark Portal. Let's explain how this magic goes to that magic. And, we've ripped off the Kabbalah, and now we're going to go here. And, which plane are we going to go to next? Which I don't think they'll do. If they just do this whole, we're going to go to this plane, then we're going to go to that plane, and then this plane. So it's that weird thing. Me, Pyromancer, Elywnn, we're going to have so much fun with all of this cosmic stuff. Yeah. Because we're just going to be sitting there with the tinfoil hats, losing our marbles. Having fun, losing our marbles. But for your average player, my worry is that what's basically happened is Blizzard have actually left people behind. Because so many people, they see a new lore development and it's like, I know for a fact I could sit down and have a good chat with Steve over these things because it's happened before and we'd enjoy it. We'd be on the same page. We'd get it. I would know what's in his head sort of, what direction he's taking things in, how it's all going, how the story, I get that. But we get so many comments in our videos of people just, they see something that we get that makes sense to us as people who sit down and study the lore and all of the different external sources. And they're just like, this game's lore went to shit. This is what is this is shit. I don't care. And it's like, why does somebody feel that way? And I think it is just the case of Legion was just like simple and awesome. It was like cosmic-ish, but it was very still rooted in the Warcrafty stuff. Yeah. But then when they started to get like way more technical with the cosmic stuff, then it's just like we're explaining mysteries that should not be explained, and we're eroding, we're explaining the universe, but we're eroding the fantasy. And I guess that's a thing of a fantasy virtual world. Fantastical doesn't just mean it's not Earth.
Yeah.
And if you explain too much of the fantasy, it's no longer a fantasy. Which is why, I mean, I think that hard magic systems are super self-congratulatory and super interesting to write.
Yeah.
But I rarely feel like they are the best thing for an actual reader's experience of a story or a player's experience.
Only if the actual bending of those hard magic rules can be done in an experiential way, or if the characters and readers are learning them as they go, or if you use them for like interesting combat scenes. Because is it? I can't believe what it's called. I can't believe I forget what it's called. The book series with Koth, the red-haired mage. What's his name? It's not Brandon Sanderson. Some other. It's Patrick Rothfuss. Patrick Rothfuss. But that book has it's not super hard as far as I recall, but it's a really, really well-defined set of magic stuff.
Okay.
So you get into like combat scenes after the main character has learned, and it's just really interesting. Having to I might be misremembered. I remember him having to fumble for certain reagents during combat in his cloak or nearby, stuff like that. All that kind of interesting stuff can be used for depth in how things unfold. But if that ever starts, if you spend more time explaining it or explaining why it matters, as opposed to just here's the rules, we're playing within them, now we're going to play without them, then you kind of fall afoul. Because I would say that soft magic has similar kind of problems, or different problems, but they can be similarly abused, because you go, well, if it's soft magic, then you just have Deus Ex Machina every other chapter.
Okay, it's that thing. I like it when there's maybe hard magic in the creator's mind, but they're very tactically explaining it. Yeah. Like, say, George R.R. Martin in Game of Thrones. There's a lot of magic there. I imagine he knows exactly how it works in his head, but it's doled out in a way that preserves the mystery. Yeah. I should say, by the way, a big thank you to SPR 9000, as well as Tail Stormwind and Arthurun, who just joined us as members. And for you, I'm going to give you a Beppis in chat. Yep. There you go. We need that thing, right? Because it's the thing. Whenever you sub to a stream in Twitch, there's usually an emote that everyone spams. And I don't know which one we should use. Do we use Beppis? Do we use Dick und Salad? Do we use Clickbait? I don't know which one of our emotes do we use? And oh my God, Ignis has joined as a member as well. Thank you, Ignis.
Beppis is pretty good.
And so is Sokram.
Thank this.
Jesus, boys, I'll never get to these super chats if you keep on being generous.
Yeah. No.
Oh man, yeah. So we've got, we've talked about the Cosmos stuff.